Yo, what's going on, guys? Today, we're gonna be ranking every card in Clash Royale. This tier list will be mostly based off of facts, but there may be a bit of personal opinion here and there. I'm gonna try to rank each card pretty quickly unless they deserve a longer explanation. As I rank each card, make sure you guys comment down below whether you agree or disagree with the ranking. So first up we have the skeletons. Skeletons are quite good on their own, but the evolved skeletons are especially broken right now. I think I had them A tier in my last tier list, but even though they got that emergency nerf, it pretty much did nothing to them, and also Cannoneer is way more broken right now than before, so I'm gonna put them right in the S tier. Our very first card is already an S tier. It's so good at countering Cannoneer, and yeah, nothing else to say about it. Next up we have the Ice Tiny, another quite good cycle card, but the evolution is so bad for it, probably the worst evolution in the game. So I'm going to actually have to put it in the B tier, and the reason for that is because next up we have the Fire Spirit, and Fire Spirit has been providing pretty good competition recently for the Ice Spirit. I'm going to put Fire Spirit in the B tier, because recently Fire Spirit has kicked out the Ice Spirit from quite a few decks like Goblin Drill and Minor Poison, because most of those decks run Cannoneer, and you kind of want the extra splash damage to kill stuff like bats. So that's why. Next up we have the Electro Tiny. I don't find it to be very good. I feel like the Fire Spirit is pretty much a better version of it in most decks. The only thing people run E-Spirit in is RG, but RG doesn't even always use it, and RG isn't that popular in the meta. I'll put it in the C tier. It's not a bad card, just the other spirits are better. Next up we have Goblins. There were quite a few Goblins decks, but I feel like people have started to switch to Skeletons a bit more often. Since we do have the double Evo slot, you kind of want to play Skeletons in there and get your nice Evo Skeletons. I'll put Goblins in the A tier. I feel like that's fair. Next up we have the Evo Bomber. Man, Evo Bomber is so broken. I mean, normal Bomber is pretty average, probably a bit below average, but Evo Bomber is completely crazy, and it also pairs so well with the Goblin Drill, so I'm gonna have to put Bomber at the top of the S tier for now. May change that later though. Next up we have Spear Goblins. They kind of fell out of the meta. Pretty much only one deck plays them, that Minor Wall Breakers Magic Archer deck, and even that doesn't always run them, so I guess I'll put them at the top of the C tier. They could maybe be B tier, but they're just not seen very often. Okay, Bats. Man, Bats are so good this meta. Not a crazy amount of decks run them, mainly Giant Graveyard and a few other things like E-Golem. Two very popular decks though, so I think I'm going to have to put the Bats in the A tier. Also, Evo Bats are very good. I might even put it above Goblins. Evo Bats are actually so broken right now. I remember they were one of the worst Evos before, but now Giant Graveyard completely destroys people with the Evo Bats in there. Okay, Zap. The Zap just recently got an evolution, and the Evo Zap is quite broken. Not really sure where I want to put it though. I feel like I'll have to put it low A tier. I don't know, maybe it could be a little bit higher. People, I think, have said it could be S tier. I'm not sure though. I feel like not all decks run it. Like, there's quite a few decks where you'd prefer to have the log to counter Goblin Drill better and stuff like that, so I think A tier is fine, if you ask me. Next up we have the Snowball. Snowball was pretty good before, but now that Evo Zap is a thing, Evo Zap pretty much replaced Snowball in the few decks that it was used in. I don't want to put it too low though. I could put it at the top of the C tier, but I feel like maybe low B tier could be fine. Yeah, I think low B tier is okay, probably towards the bottom of the B tier. It's quite a good card, just Zap is a lot better now. Evo Knight. Evo Knight did get a small nerf, but it's still quite strong. That being said, it's not everywhere like it used to be. So I guess I would put it above Goblins in the A tier. I don't know, now that I think about it, Zap could probably go above Knight and Goblins in the A tier. Yeah, Knight is quite good, but a lot of the Goblin Drill decks and stuff don't even run Knight, because the thing about Knight is that it doesn't counter Goblin Drill very well. Next up we have the Archers. Archers do have a pretty good Evo, but I haven't seen many Evo Archers decks recently. I mean, I face Pekka Bridge Spam sometimes and a few other things, but even Pekka Bridge Spam has begun to use the Evo Bomber instead of Archers. So it's pretty hard to say where I would rank them. Honestly, probably mid-B tier. Yeah, I think that's fine, because even though evolved cards are pretty much all better than normal cards, you also have to think about the fact that it's going to take an Evo slot away that you could be using on another Evo card. Next up, we have the minions. Minions are pretty solid, but Evo bats are just better in the majority of decks. But I really do like minions. I feel like I'll have to go for B tier. If it weren't for Evo bats being so good, they'd probably be low A tier. Goblin Gang. I have not seen Goblin Gang for a very long time. I think maybe one Logbait player runs it. Maybe a couple. But even in Logbait, I feel like guards might be a little bit better. So it's pretty hard to say. We could even put it in the F tier. Ooh, I don't know. I'll put it in the D tier just because it's not completely unplayable. It's just worse than pretty much everything else. Skeleton Barrel. There's pretty much no Skeleton Barrel players. I mean, there's like one Skeleton Barrel Mortar player. Maybe a couple Mega Knight Skeleton Barrel players. I guess I'll put it in the D tier above Goblin Gang. It's not a bad card. I guess the meta just doesn't suit it too much. Firecracker. I mean, Firecracker was quite good in Hog EQ, especially the Evo Firecracker, but unfortunately Hog EQ is pretty much unviable right now. I feel like Goblin Drill really just kicked out a lot of the decks from the meta, including Hog EQ, because a lot of the drill decks have both Tesla and Tornado. So Firecracker, I don't know, some people might argue that it could be in the B tier, but honestly in this current meta, I would even put it in the C tier, so I think I'm going to have to stick with that. I have not seen Firecracker for quite some time. I don't know, it could be low B tier, I wouldn't argue too much against that. Next up we have the Cannon. I haven't seen Cannon for a while either. It seems like Tesla really became the dominant building in the meta, so for Cannon, I would probably say C tier. Maybe right below Firecracker. Next up we have the Arrows. Arrows are pretty strong right now. I do see a lot of Arrows and Evo Zap together in quite a few decks. Not sure which is stronger though. I guess I'll put Arrows right next to the Evo Zap. They're kind of on par with each other. They're normally used together, so it's hard to rank them separately. Royal Delivery. I mean, it's pretty good. It's good in Royal Hogs. I saw maybe some Goblin Show decks use it, and that's probably just about it. Royal Hogs isn't even too popular right now. Delivery, I'll put it, I don't know, could go maybe above Minions in the B tier. I'm not sure if it should even be that high, honestly. Maybe below Minions in the B tier. Skeleton Dragons. I thought Skeleton Dragons would be quite bad since the Evo Zap does fully counter them, but the thing is you don't get to the Evo Zap that often in a match, so I don't know, they seem pretty good. I would say at least B tier. They're good in Lava Hound. They're good in Recruits, spam decks, sometimes weird balloon decks. Also some weird mortar decks as well. I think I would have to put them above Goblins in the A tier. Now that I think about it, I'm not even sure if Goblins should be in the A tier because they were really good before, but the meta just doesn't suit them very much, this Evo Bomber heavy meta. So I might actually put them down in the B tier. Yeah, I feel like they're better than B tier, but the meta right now is just not built for them. And I'll even put this above Evo Knight as well. Alright, next up we have the Mortar. There are a few Mortar spam players playing the Mortar Skeleton Dragons Skeleton King deck, but that's about it, I feel like. Evo Mortar is pretty solid, but not even that broken of an evolution. So I guess I'll put it in the B tier. I don't even know if it deserves to be that high or not. Next up we have the Tesla. Man, Tesla is so broken. Tesla Minor Poison. Tesla Goblin Drill, Tesla Hog EQ, Tesla Royal Hogs Earthquake, Tesla Logbait. I could go on and on about that card. I think I'm actually going to have to put the Tesla in the S tier. I'm kind of surprised actually, but it just used everywhere, so why wouldn't I? Even Xbow is really good with Tesla right now, surprisingly. Next up we have the Barbs. Man, Barbs fell off so quickly. I think Lava Hound players do still use them a bit, but even quite a few of those players have moved on to playing Valkyrie Yeah, man, so Evo Barbs are just not good right now. I guess I'll put them right above the Firecracker in this C tier. Next up, we have the Minion Horde. Pretty much only 1 or 2 Mortar players at top ladder, and maybe a few, I don't know, Mortar and what else? Maybe 3 Musketeers players play it on top ladder. But yeah, Minion Horde is not very good. There's so many arrow stacks, so honestly, I'll put it in the D tier, right above Goblin Gang. No F tier cards just yet. Okay, Rascals. I have not seen Rascals for a while. I might actually have to put them in the F tier. I feel like they're D tier, but I have not seen them at all, so I'm just gonna have to say F tier, I don't know. Evo Bomber counters them easily for 2 Elixir, which is pretty sad. So I think that's actually a fair ranking. RG. RG has been making a bit of a comeback recently. Evo RG isn't too good, but just the deck itself functions quite well. The rest of the cards in RG are pretty good. So I would probably say B tier. Yeah, I would say B tier, maybe right above the Archers in B tier. Could be a little bit higher even, not really sure. We're going to have to see how the meta plays out. E-Barbs. I have not seen E-Barbs for a very long time. I heard the next Evo might be Battle Rams, so if it is, then E-Barbs might make a comeback in that deck, the E-Barbs Bridge Spam deck. But for now, I haven't seen them pretty much at all. I don't know if I would say D tier or F tier. I might say F tier, honestly. Yeah, there's like 1 Golem player who plays them. That's pretty much it. Royal Recruits. I don't see Recruits too often. I feel like the main reason is because Bomber's a very cheap counter to them, and also there's quite a few other cards that can deal with them pretty well, including Bowler and stuff like that. So for Recruits, I don't know, there hasn't been much Recruits Goblin Giant going around anymore. So I think I'm actually going to have to put them below the RG. Maybe around here, middle of the B tier. I know some of these rankings might be a bit weird, like they don't all completely make sense, but I feel like it's roughly good. Alright, Baseball Tiny. One of the best Tinies of all time. But unfortunately, it's not used at all. Sometimes in Bridge Spam, but Bridge Spam is not being played right now. Sometimes in Sparky, but Sparky's not being played. Evo Zap counters Sparky pretty easily. So I guess I would have to put it maybe at the top of the D tier, maybe right below Skeleton Barrel. I feel like it's not that bad, but people just aren't playing it. Ice Golem. It's really only used in 2.6. And nothing else. I do hope it gets a small buff again. I would like to see it meta. Maybe an Evo Ice Golem could be pretty nice. I feel like top of the D tier is fine for it. Mega Minion. It did get a buff a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but at least a few months back. But it's pretty bad. I don't know, it's pretty much only used in Lava Hound. I guess it could go in this C tier. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe the middle of the C tier. Dart Goblin. There was one Logbait player who was playing it, and that's pretty much it on top ladder. I know a lot of the mid ladder players say it's broken, but I don't think so. This list is a little bit based off of mid ladder, but mainly based off of competitive play and top ladder, because that's really what's most important in the game. That's where players play their best. So whatever card is best is going to perform the best. Dart Goblin, Dart Goblin. I would say bottom of the C tier, maybe even D tier. But I'll say C tier for now. Elixir Golem. Man, E-Golem is actually quite good right now. I'm not sure whether it's the E-Golem itself or the other cards in the deck. But I would actually put it, I don't know, maybe in the B tier, middle of the B tier. Tombstone. I don't know why, but nobody really plays Tombstone. I feel like it's not that bad at countering Cannoneer, because if you play a Tombstone against a Cannoneer, I'm pretty sure it can take the entire tower, surprisingly. Because when the Death Skeletons spawn, they also spawn with 2 more skeletons that the spawner spawned right before that, and then they take the entire tower out pretty much. But only Splash Yard players play it, and people just prefer to play Giant Graveyard in this meta. I'll put it at the top of the C tier just because I feel like it's a solid card. Earthquake. I mean, Hog Earthquake is pretty much not used at top ladder, and also Royal Hogs Earthquake was pretty good last season, but this season, Goblin Drill counters it so easily. I mean, I guess I'd put it at the top of the C tier for now. Valkyrie. Valkyrie does counter Goblin Drill pretty well, but at the same time, it's pretty much just a liability, because when you play the Valkyrie to counter a Goblin Drill, then they can play their Evo Bomber onto it and get so much damage on your tower. So I don't want to rank it too high up there. Lava Hound does use it. A few other things, but not too much of the meta decks. I'd say next to RG in the B tier. Evo Valkyrie isn't that good, but it's not as bad as it used to be. Musketeer. Only 2.6 uses it, so I can't rank it very high. I would actually say below the Firecracker in the C tier. It just can't compete with the new ranged cards that have the evolution. Mini Pekka. I have not seen Mini Pekka pretty much at all recently. Maybe in a couple Sparky decks, but that's just about it. I guess it could go... I don't know, right next to the Musketeer in C tier seems fine. Hog Rider. Hog Rider was quite good a few seasons ago, but recently, with Goblin Drill, there's nothing you can do. Especially when they have Tornado and a building, so... Man, Hog Rider... I don't know, I mean, it's better than some of these cards here. I guess I'll put it towards the top of the C tier. I don't know. It's not very good, but it's not that bad inherently, I guess. I don't know. Pencil. It might get an Evo, so it could become pretty good pretty soon. Currently, it's not very good, though. Pekka does play it, and that's about it. I'll put it above the Dark Goblin in the C tier. It got an HP buff a while ago, which does help out quite a bit. Bomb Tower. Tesla's way better than Bomb Tower, as of right now. I would probably put it... I don't know. Maybe in the B tier, right there. Furnace, man, Furnace is so bad. Oh, it's so bad. I might actually put it as the very worst card in the game right now, because if you face a Cannoneer deck, Furnace gets 0 damage against it, because the Fire Spirit gets 1 shot every time. I feel like they need to rework Furnace somehow. Maybe make it waves of 2 again. They might just have to completely rework the Furnace and change the cost of it and whatever else. Flying Machine. I don't know, it's not too good. I don't see it pretty much ever. Maybe a few Recruits decks here and there. Guess I'll put it next to the Tombstone in C tier. Goblin Cage. There is a Goblin Cage balloon deck that's pretty nice in the meta. And that's pretty much it. I guess Recruits too. It's not a bad card though. I guess top of the C tier seems good for it. Maybe it could even be low B tier. I don't know. I think that's fine. Fireball. I haven't seen much Fireball recently. It's pretty much all poison. What even runs Fireball anymore? I feel like pretty much only Xbow. Maybe Recruits too. But even Recruits probably doesn't. It probably uses arrows and bar barrel nowadays. So Fireball, I would actually say... Maybe top of the B tier. I would honestly put it a few cards lower, but I don't know. This is fine too. Battle Healer. Man, Battle Healer is so bad. Even E-Golem doesn't use it anymore. There were a couple Golem decks using it, but I haven't faced them for a while. I think I'll actually say F tier next to the E-Barbs. Maybe right above them. Zappies. Zappies are only in Recruits these days. So I guess right next to the Flying Machine, right under it. Because Zappies do suck very much against Goblin Drill decks especially. Giant. Giant is pretty good in this meta. Giant Graveyard is really strong. I don't know if that's due to the Giant or due to the supporting cards though. That's the only issue about it. I would say B tier is fine though. Could be a few spots lower, but this is fair. Fire Mage. You guys already know where this card is going. I mean, it is better than the Furnace, to be fair. Yeah, so that seems about right. Second worst card. Royal Hogs. If you asked me like a month ago, they would be pretty high up there, but just because Goblin's really strong right now, I feel like they can't be too high up there. I don't know if I would put them in the B tier or C tier. Either the top of the C tier or the bottom of the B tier. You know what, now that I think about it, let's move the snowball down a little bit. I think these cards are a bit better than it. Delivery, I'm not sure about delivery. I guess I'll move the delivery down a bit too. Maybe right there. Okay, so piggies. I don't know, I would say the top of the C tier. They're just not very good in this type of meta. Goblin Hut. Oh, and also the other issue with piggies is that quite a few people are running Valkyrie and all those splash cards to counter drill, which also counter piggies at the same time. Goblin Hut. Oh, Goblin Hut is so bad. It's actually so bad. I haven't seen it in ages. Gonna go right there at the very bottom of the F tier. Maybe above Wizard. Inferno Tower. Once again, Tesla is 10 times better than Inferno Tower. I would say in the C tier. I don't know, I feel like even Mega Minion might be better. Oh, and I think Cannon is better too, probably. Barb Hut. Oh, Barb Hut is so bad too. I haven't seen any of the spawners in ages now that I think about it. I think it still is better than Furnace though, since Furnace gets wrecked by Cannoneer decks. Pump. Pump is actually quite good. It's mainly used in E-Golem, but it is kind of carrying that E-Golem deck. Sometimes used in other decks like Golem and Three Musketeers. So Pump could actually go in the B tier. Right next to the RG. Rocket. Rocket is so bad. Only Xbow plays it. Maybe Logbait, but Logbait nowadays is usually pretty fast cycle. Not even always playing the Rocket in it. So Rocket, I guess I would put it above the Dart Goblin. Maybe above Battle Ram too. In the C tier. Actually, I'm not even sure. Maybe below Battle Ram in C tier. Poison is 10 times better. Three Musketeers. I've seen them like one time in the whole last month. Maybe 2 times, I'm not sure. They can go in the D tier. I guess below the Minion Horde. Mirror. I haven't seen Mirror for a very long time either. I'll put it, I guess below the E-Barbs in the F tier. Okay, Wall Breakers. Wall Breakers are so good. They're so good naturally, but also the Evo is so good as well. Wall Breakers. I don't know, I'd put them at the bottom of the S tier maybe. They could be higher up. I feel like Bomber's definitely better though. But yeah, they're somewhere there in the S tier. Rage. Rage was played with Goblin Giant. It still is played with E-Golem, I guess. Honestly, Rage could go maybe at the top of the C tier. I don't know, maybe even a bit lower. Yeah, I would say a bit lower actually. Right there seems fine. Barbaro. Not many decks run Barbaro these days. Yeah, really the Zap coming back has boxed out quite a few of these other small spells. It's still not a bad card though. Oh, also Evo Bomber has replaced Barbaro in a handful of decks. I would put it below the Giant in B tier. Skeleton Army, I have not seen that card in a very long time. The one deck that used to run it was Giant Graveyard, but even Giant Graveyard doesn't play it anymore. It could probably go, I don't know, somewhere there in the D tier. Probably the lowest I've ranked Skarmy in a while. Guards. Guards are a pretty good card. In competitive play, they're quite strong, but on ladder, I mean, I guess they're also quite strong on ladder, but nothing too crazy. I'm not sure. I would probably say high B tier. Maybe even a bit higher, but I'll take that placement. Goblin Barrel. I would say S tier. It's so broken. Totally needs a nerf. Just needs to get out of here. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'll say Snap. I don't even know. I guess C tier. Because there is one Logbait deck that people have been playing a little bit with Evo wall breakers and stuff. That's about it. Tornado. Tornado is very good. Especially with the Goblin Show decks. And quite a few other things too. Not exactly sure where I want to rank it. I would say the top of the A tier. Maybe could even be S tier. Borderline S tier. I'm not sure on that one. Bats actually might be a bit stronger, and Evo's Zap. I'll say here, actually. Clone. I don't think it'll ever be good until Poison dies. And also, stuff like Arrows and Evo's Zap, even Tornado counters it super easily. Just somewhere there in the F tier. Seems pretty good. We do have quite a few F tier cards this time around. Baby Dragon. I don't know, it's a very young dragon, one of the youngest dragons I've ever tamed, so doesn't have much experience with that. Splash Art is not that bad, but yeah, once again, Giant Graveyard is a lot better. So, where would I put it? I would say right around the C tier. Dark Prince. I guess it's mainly played in Giant Graveyard, maybe a couple other decks, but no, not popular meta decks. It does counter Drill quite well though, so I would say B tier is fine for it. Hunter. Nobody plays Hunter. Not even RG decks seem to run it anymore. I guess right here is fine. Now Goblin Drill. Goblin Drill, this dreadful card that they decided to rework for no reason. Quote unquote rework. Even though it's basically just a pure buff. Yeah, it's probably the very top of the S tier. I don't know if Bomber's better or Goblin Drill. That's a bit of a tough choice, actually. You know what, on second thought, Bomber might actually be better than Goblin Drill. But Drill is so broken too. I don't know, they're pretty much one. They're just a combo that's so broken. Freeze. Man, Freeze is so bad. When's the last time I've seen a Freeze deck? I guess a few Graveyard Freeze players do roam around on top ladder. I'll put it right there in the C tier. Could even be a bit lower. Poison. Oh, Poison is so broken. It just fits so well in the Goblin Joe deck. As far as where I'll rank it, I would say right up here in the S tier. You guys can see already 6 out of the 8 cards in that popular... And some of those popular Goblin Joe decks are in the top S tier ranking. Even though some of them don't run wall breakers. Alright, Balloon. I mean, Lava Loon is pretty healthy right now. Also, Balloon Cycle is not too bad right now. I feel like B tier is fine for it. It's quite a strong win condition. People do underrate it sometimes. Witch. I saw one Giant Graveyard Witch deck being run a little bit. So I would actually put it at the top of the D tier. Could even be low C tier, maybe. I'm not sure though. It's good against Cannoneer, that's pretty much it. Prince. Man, Prince is so bad. Why would you play Prince over a Dark Prince in this meta? With all the drill and everything. I would say D tier. I hope Prince gets a buff. It would be nice to see it back in the meta again. Bowler. Not a crazy amount of decks run Bowler, but it is quite strong overall. So I guess I would say B tier. I don't know. Because even in Giant Graveyard, it's kind of weird. Sometimes they run Dark Prince, sometimes they run Bowler. You know what? I don't know though. Maybe it could go above the Giant, actually. Executioner. Man, it's so weird seeing E-Golem above these cards. These good cards like Bowler. Alright, Executioner. It's not so good either. The meta doesn't suit it. It probably would be good in Goblin Drill if it weren't for Evo Bomber being so broken and so much better in every single way possible. It's practically better at hitting air troops than Executioner. That doesn't really make sense, but you guys get the point. Alright, Executioner. I don't know, I would say D tier actually. Cannon Cart. People love to say it's good. It's not good, guys. I don't even think the Mortar Bait decks run it anymore. I could be wrong, though. I guess I would say D tier next to the Witch. E-Drag. I mean, what even runs it anymore? Not E-Golem. Only Golem. And Golem isn't too good. It's not the worst ever, though. Maybe somewhere here in the lower C tier. Giant Skeleton. Man, Giant Skeleton got a nice buff and I thought it would be good again, but for some reason, it just is not fitting well in the meta. Maybe if Goblin Drill wasn't good, it would have a bit more of a chance to shine. So Giant Skeleton. There's not even any Giant Skeleton RG decks being played right now, either. I guess below the E-Dragon C tier. I really wish it was better. Goblin Giant. It was pretty good, but it did get a nice nerf, and now I don't see it very often. But I think there is one nice E-Giant Bowler deck. Now that I think about it, let me put Bowler a bit higher up. Maybe above the Recruits. Alright, so Goblin Giant. I don't even know. I guess it could be here in the B tier. Maybe it could be a little bit lower. But it's tough to say. Okay, Xbow. Xbow is actually quite strong in this current meta. The reason why is because most of the Goblin Drill decks don't have any good tank to stop the Xbow. So Xbow. I would honestly almost put it in the B tier, but I know Xbow players would rage at me for doing that, so... I don't know. I guess I might say the top of the C tier. But low-key, guys... I might actually do it. Yeah, you know what? I'll do it. I don't care if they rage at me. I'll put it right next to the Mortar there in the B tier. Maybe even above the Mortar. Alright, Lightning. Nobody plays Lightning. Only maybe Goblin Giant players do. A little bit. So, Lightning. I guess in the C tier. Pekka. I mean, Pekka got a pretty nice buff. It's still not very good, though, even after that. But a few players do run it with some decent success. I think here is fine. Maybe even a little bit higher, actually. Yeah, I'll put it a bit higher. Right next to the Rage in C tier. Alright, E-Giant. Man, E-Giant was so good, but now it's so bad because of the Cannoneer. That's pretty much the only reason. Otherwise, it would be quite a strong meta deck, I feel like. Where would I rank it? I guess right here. Just right there in this C tier. Golem. I mean, Golem isn't that bad. But Cannoneer does also kind of destroy Golem. That's the issue with it. I don't see why you would play Golem when you have E-Golem, if you ask me. I mean, I guess I would say... kind of the middle of the C tier. Maybe even a little bit higher. In the C tier. Log. I'm not sure if I would put Log in the S tier or A tier. I feel like maybe A tier now that it does have some competition in the Evo Zap and arrows and stuff like that. So I'll actually say at the top of the A tier for now. Ice Mage. Only Icebow runs it. Maybe like a couple players in the top 1000. Something like that. We could put it right below the Witch in the D tier. Princess. A couple Logbait players do run it. That's about it. I think here is fine. Miner. I mean, Miner was so broken, was pretty much always the top meta deck, but now Goblin Drill is really good as well, which does kind of put Miner in its shadow. So for Miner, I don't know, I feel like it's still going to somehow find a way to be broken this meta, if you ask me. I would say kind of the lower A tier. It would be S tier for sure if it weren't for Goblin Drill overtaking it. Bandit, there are quite a few good Bandit Drill bridge spam decks and also Pekka Bandit decks. So Bandit could honestly go in the B tier. Okay, Ghost is really good right now. It's always used in the top Goblin Drill deck. It's actually so good right now. It's good in RG. It's good in Drill itself. I know there's a lot of other things I'm not thinking of right now on the spot. It's also good in Mega Knight decks, kind of random stuff like that. I would say maybe right here in the A tier. Fisherman, it's used in RG. That's it. But it does play a nice role in the deck. I would say towards the bottom of the B tier. I don't know, maybe... Yeah, maybe there is fine. There is fine. Lumberjack. I don't know why people play Lumberjack. It's only good with Balloon, I guess. Maybe the new Evo, if it ends up being Ram Rider, but I'm pretty sure it is going to be Battle Ram. Okay, Lumberjack, Lumberjack, Lumberjack. I guess above the Giant Skeleton in the C tier. Inferno Dragon. It's not really a beatdown meta though. There's a bit of Giant Graveyard, that's pretty much it. Besides that, it's just Goblin Drill. And also Evo Zap does basically immobilize Inferno Dragon for a very long time. So it might just have to go around the C tier. Just not the good meta for Inferno Dragon. I'm sure a lot of you guys might be surprised at some of these ratings. The meta has changed quite a bit. Electro Mage, I would love to see it get a small buff. I mean, who plays it anymore? I don't think anyone does. There's so many other better Evo ranged cards to play instead of Ewiz. Not even Pekka runs it, so I might actually put it in the D tier. This might be the lowest I've ever put Ewiz. Night Witch. Guys, Night Witch is actually so good right now. It's so good with E-Golem, so good with Giant Graveyard. It is actually so good at countering Cannoneer. It's basically gonna infinitely stop the Cannoneer from shooting your other troops because of how often it spawns bats. Pretty much quicker than Cannoneer can kill the bats. So Cannoneer is single-handedly putting this card, I guess, right above the Miner in the A tier. It feels kind of weird seeing Night Witch that high up, but I feel like it is deserved. Magic Archer. It did get a small buff. Didn't really make a change though. Pretty much at all. I'll put it, I don't know. I guess a couple of Goblin Drill decks do use it as well, so I'll put it right above the Inferno Dragon in the C tier. Maybe above Golem as well. Mother Witch. I keep on getting the witches mixed up. Okay, so Night Witch. Oh, not Night Witch, I mean Mother Witch. I got it mixed up again. Alright, so Mother Witch. It's quite good in some Goblin Drill decks, quite good in some RG decks, quite good in some minor poison decks. It does seem like quite a good meta for Mother Witch. It does counter stuff like Night Witch, Bats, some of those other swarm cards going around. Oh, I didn't mean to move the bar barrel. I don't know where it was. I think right around here. Hopefully I didn't mess that up too much. Maybe here. I don't even remember. Alright, so Mother Witch. It's definitely up there. I guess right above the Night Witch. Phoenix. Man, Phoenix fell so quickly from glory. I don't know what happened to the card. I guess it was only really good in E-Giant and stuff like that. Then it just fell out of that deck too. Now even Mega Minion seems to be played more than Phoenix. I don't know what happened to the card. It's actually so bad. I don't know. I feel like here in the C tier is fine. It feels so weird though. Ramrider. Oh, Ramrider is so bad. I don't know. I might put it in the D tier right below Witch. Now Graveyard. Graveyard did apparently get a nerf, but it doesn't seem to have affected the card pretty much at all. Giant Graveyard is insanely boosted right now. So I would have to put it... I don't even know. Maybe right here in the A tier. Sparky. Sparky wasn't that horrible until Evo Zap came out. Then it did kind of become horrible. Because also Zap itself is a very nice counter to Sparky. So I guess I would put it maybe right here in the C tier next to E-Drag. Lava Hound. Lava Hound has been used quite a bit recently. Lava Loon is pretty successful with the new guards and Evo Valkyrie, stuff like that. Yeah, it's actually quite good. I would give it... I don't know. Maybe a B tier rating. Mega Knight. I mean, I haven't seen too much Mega Knight Minor Wall Breakers recently. So I can't put it too high up there. There's not really any other Mega Knight decks going around. Mega Knight Ramrider is just about dead in this meta. I guess I would say C tier above E-Giant. I mean, maybe... I don't even know, man. I don't even know. Yeah, I guess above E-Giant. Little Prince. Okay, Little Prince is so broken. But then again, Evo Bomber is kind of overtaking it in a lot of decks, kind of replacing it. But this little piece of doo-doo still has to go quite high up there. I would say S tier. Not really sure where in the S tier though. I feel like right around the middle of the S tier. It's so broken though, it's just that these cards are dominating the entire meta. Mighty Miner. Mighty Miner does suck quite badly as of right now. It's so bad against Goblin Drill. Especially. I guess right here in the C tier is fine. It just feels so weak for a champion though. Skeleton King. Skeleton King is quite good in E-Golem. Quite good in some other random decks like Mortar and stuff like that. Definitely not a bad card. I would put it right next to the Bowler in the B tier. Golden Knight. It got a small buff, but it was just not the buff it needed. So it's not really gonna have moved up at all in the tier list. I guess I would say C tier. Maybe even a bit lower, honestly. Yeah, maybe a bit lower, actually. Yeah, right around here in the C tier. Somewhere around there. Archer Queen. Archer Queen is quite good, but once again, Little Prince is 10 times better, even though Archer Queen is really good. If Little Prince disappeared, I feel like Archer Queen would definitely be quite high up here on the tier list. But as of right now, it's pretty hard to say where I would put the card. I would just have to say B tier, I think. I would put it way higher if it weren't for Little Prince, but yeah, that seems fine. Monk. Monk got a nice buff, but it wasn't really enough to do too much. It's sometimes played in RG, but that's pretty much it. This will be our final card, guys. I would say Monk could go in the C tier, right about here. Alright, and that's the full tier list, so thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye!